So I finally decided to catch up with everyone else in the world and watch Yellowstone. So just a warning right now, there will be spoilers for the show Yellowstone seasons 1 through 4. Another quick thing too I want to get out of the way is I'm just going to broadly talk about the show. I'm not going to go in depth into every single episode. I'm just going to try to touch on the characters and kind of the plots and just if it's kind of worth watching as a whole. So if it sounds like something you want to listen to, kick back, relax, and let's start the video. So Yellowstone is about the main protagonist, John Dutton, and he is a 7th or 8th generation farmer in Montana on their ranch, the Yellowstone Ranch. And it's about the struggle of him and his family keeping the ranch and making it profitable and keeping the land that he has. And then, of course, the land has been in his family since the mid 1880s. If you have watched the prequel to Yellowstone, 1883, I highly recommend that show. That is a tremendous show. I actually watched the prequel before I watched Yellowstone, and my goodness, that prequel is amazing. So definitely check it out. But they explain how the Dutton family got to Montana and how they settled the Yellowstone Ranch. But regardless, we fast forward to modern day, and it's all about how John Dutton is trying to keep the ranch, make sure it stays around for many generations to come. So every season, it seems like seasons 1 through 4 is about how they can keep the ranch, right? Someone's trying to build a casino or build a club or build a airport or build something where the Yellowstone Ranch is. And it's about John doing everything in his power to keep the ranch how it is through somewhat corruption, killing people, etc., etc. Now, I know, again, that is a very broad picture to paint because it is a very good show, but that's generally what the show usually is about, you know, how they're going to keep the ranch and just kind of the foe they're going to have to overcome in each season. But again, that's very broadly painting it. The more integral parts of the show are really, really good. The characters are very well written. Majority of them are really well fleshed out, and it's not hard to root for the characters in Yellowstone. I honestly can't think of a character in the show that isn't written well, except for maybe Monica, who is Casey's wife. Casey is one of John's sons. That lady, I think, is a really great actress because I hate her character. The Monica character is the most whiny and just worthless character I think I've ever seen in TV. She honestly rivals Lori from The Walking Dead. That's who she reminds me of constantly. Her bad decision making, her flip-flopping on her agreeing with her husband or not, and just the overall just kind of just pretentiousness and whininess. She reminds me of Lori from The Walking Dead. And I'm not taking anything away from the real person playing that character. I think she's doing a great job because I truly dislike that character. She is so annoying. Same thing like Sarah Wayne Callies playing Lori in The Walking Dead. I think she is a great actress. She did a tremendous job bringing that character to life. It's just the character itself is just beyond annoying in most instances. So John has 3 sons and 1 daughter. The sons being Lee, Jamie, and Casey, and Beth is the daughter. Lee is very unimportant. He gets killed in the pilot of the show, and he really doesn't get referenced very much after that. He pops up in an episode of season 4 when Casey is hallucinating, but that's really it. You know, there's a few name drops of him here and there, but he gets killed in the pilot for plot purposes, and it's just kind of like he didn't really ever exist. I thought they could have done more with flashbacks of showing how Lee became the second in command of the Dutton family and so forth. I know he was the firstborn son, so forth and all that, but they could have done a little bit more with that. There's a few flashbacks where the lead character is in it, but I think they could have done a tad bit more on that, but what are you going to do? And Jamie is another son of John. He is the lawyer of the family. He's the well-to-do, more of the, lack for a better term, yuppie brother of the group. And he is just a very manic and just catatonic person at times. And fast forward to season 4, I believe, we as the audience actually find out that he's adopted. So it kind of makes a little more sense why he's so different compared to his brothers and so forth. And overall, the character is compelling enough and the actor does a great job in the role. But Jamie he's whatever. Generally speaking, I mean, I can take him or leave him. I do think the character will die before the show ends. It's kind of trending that way. And then Casey's the son who never really wanted any of this, but it's kind of all thrown in his lap. He's a veteran. He went and served overseas for like roughly a decade. That's what you kind of have to infer. He's married to Monica, who's Native American. So that's kind of a whole other issue between the Duttons owning that land. And there's a Native American tribe that wants to take over the land because that's where they originally were and so forth. And then Casey and Monica have a son named Tate. Depending on the season, kind of becomes a cowboy with like Casey, John, and the rest. And other seasons, he's just kind of there, doesn't really do much. Like season 4, he didn't really exist at all. He's fine. He's a fine enough character, I guess. But Casey's a good character. He's definitely developed a lot, probably the most out of all the characters throughout seasons 1 through 4, because he goes from, pretty much having nothing to do with his dad to in season 4 becoming like the livestock commissioner, running the ranch and so forth. So he has probably the biggest arc so far throughout the show. And then we get to Beth, probably the best character in the entire show. Beth Dutton is the daughter of John, and she is a woman that takes no BS from anyone. And she's probably the smartest Dutton out of the whole family. I know Jamie's a lawyer, but Beth is quite conniving and she knows what she's doing pretty much in every instance. In every scene Beth is in is honestly gold. I mean, whether she has a one-liner or whether she's just talking to someone or she's doing a thing, she's honestly the best character throughout the whole show. Just 10 out of 10 there. She's wonderful. Fast forwarding to season 4, Beth is now married to Rip. Rip Wheeler is one of the ranch hands. He helps run the ranch with John and a few others. He's pretty much an adoptive son of John Dutton. Technically not, because there's a whole thing, but he's been at the ranch since he was like, say, 15, 16 years old, and he's worked his way up to being a loyal person on the Yellowstone ranch. And he's just a good old solemn cowboy, does what's right, doesn't question leadership, and he does everything in his power to protect Beth and the Dutton family and the Yellowstone ranch. And the series has done a good job of giving Rip more depth as the series went on compared to just at the beginning. He's just kind of the hard cowboy that does what he's told. As the show progresses, we see why he is the way that he is and stuff like that. And of course, there are many other interesting characters on the ranch, such as like Jimmy and Teeter, Walker, Lloyd. There's a few others, and they're all just the ranch hands to some extent. Some are technically not ranch hands, they're cowboys, but that's just getting into the correct lingo. They're all on the show as more ancillary characters. They all have their own moments where they're really, really great, but they're not the, I would say, heart and soul of the show. Definitely John and his kids are kind of the heart and soul of the show, but that doesn't mean that there's not great moments with, like, say, Lloyd and Walker and a few other characters. I think Lloyd is a great character. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't say this, but I think Lloyd is very similar to Daryl from The Walking Dead, to kind of compare another thing to The Walking Dead, where he is very much loyal. Like, he doesn't question a lot, but he can kind of think for himself a few times, and it kind of gets him in trouble. Like, Daryl's done that throughout The Walking Dead. He's very loyal, but he does think for himself, and that does get him in trouble sometimes. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of a stretch for a comparison, but that's how I feel about it. Maybe you'll feel the same way. Not sure. But overall, Yellowstone is a wonderful show. I truly, truly do enjoy this show, and honestly, if anything else, it is eye candy. The cinematography of the show is beautiful. Even the scores that they use for the show are really, really good too. It's awesome seeing all of the landscapes of Montana. Again, it's eye candy. It's a beautifully shot show on location in Montana. Just on that front alone, it's beautiful to watch. And of course, the stories are very compelling. The characters are well written, and all the stories feel very cohesive. And you can tell Taylor Sheridan, the creator of the show, knows and knew what he wanted to do when he started Yellowstone. I don't think Yellowstone has too many more seasons left in it because, again, the storylines and plots kind of feel very similar throughout the seasons. Yes, there are different kind of fights along the way. Overall, they're pretty much the same thing. Gotta save the ranch, gotta prevent it from being put in the wrong hands, so forth. So I would imagine Yellowstone has another, at most, 2 seasons left, and then after that, we will just see the spin-offs and or prequels. You don't want to overstay your welcome, especially with a really good show like Yellowstone. I think the prequels and spin-offs will do it justice once the mainline show ends, because they've already done 1883, which is a prequel, came out last year. It was wonderful. I loved that prequel. I thought it was awesome. Here in December, we have another prequel for Yellowstone called 1923, and that's going to have Harrison Ford in it, so that's really cool. I would imagine that's going to be another really good prequel for Yellowstone. And then, of course, we have the mainline show of Yellowstone, which, in my opinion, will have a couple more seasons at most. And then there's supposed to be a spinoff of the 4 Sixes, where Jimmy ended up going. And then I believe there is another prequel, too, that we're going to see, but I could be incorrect on that one. Don't quote me on that. But with that said, I do think Yellowstone is worth the watch. I think I would give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a very solid show. Its really great moments are really great, and there's not a lot of low moments at all. I mean, like, the worst moments of the show, I would say it's like a 7.8 out of 10. Like, there's never really a lull in the show. It's always very strong. There's not a lot of fat to it. It's very lean. It knows where it's going and it doesn't waste a lot of time, which I do really appreciate that. So Yellowstone gets an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Definitely check out the prequels, especially 1883. That one was awesome. The 1923 one is shaping up to be really good. It has Harrison Ford in it. How bad can it be? Even if you're not into cowboy stuff, I still think people out there would enjoy it just for the compelling storylines and characters. I think that there's enough drama there. Even a person who doesn't like cowboys and beautiful cinematography and stuff would still enjoy the show. So with that said, what are your thoughts on Yellowstone? Let me know down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. Until next time, guys, everyone have a great day. Thanks for watching.